All right, we good.
Okay, we're back. I'm going to continue sharing with you guys like it was a live update story that's happening now. My visit to Bay State ER. I'm all alone. I had just had a concussion. On my way to lying down in the bed, my limbs spasmed, and I doth kicked my clothing drawer with my right leg and kicked a spare chair with my left, and feeling a complete feeling of absolute powerlessness, I did what any man would do. I lay down, closed my eyes, and said, I'm calling my friend and she better get... I was having a hard time forming my sentences when I placed this emergency call to my good friend, which made the experience all the more horrible. But, alas, she doth receiveth the message, and I doth telleth my roommate about the situation I find myself alone in my room to. And my friend doth arrive, and her and my roommate doth help me ever so slowly and caringly and gently down the same carpeted stairs that I climb up and down after a full day's of work, now completely defeated, needing to be carried out with the assistance of two of my friends. And so they loaded me into the car and drove me to Cooley Dickinson, where I was born, bitch. And I sat in the waiting room with my face mask on and my breath smelling like dirty cigarettes and cheap coffee. And I was all alone because the nurse doth said to my friend, can't I cometh into the ER with him? And she doth said, sorry, policy doth not allow. This is a hospital with policies. You have to respect that, especially if you don't have health insurance. And I don't even know if this is a serious problem. Get this guy in a fucking wheelchair. Get him in a bed. Ask him the basic questions. And I doth find myself in that scenario. And I doth think, oh, I'm scared. That's actually what it is. So that's what happened to me. I had brain surgery when I was 11. I was born with something called an arterial venous malformation, which 1 out of every 100,000 people is born with. And out of those 1 out of every 100,000 people who get it, only 1% of their AVMs, which is a tangle of veins in the arteries in the brain, does it pop. And then, for that population where it does hemorrhage, only 1% of the people survive. And then, only 0.01% of the people who survive are even slightly mentally competent. So there, I was, there's no way, I tried to make that funny, but I posted about it on Facebook, and I got a lot of good feedback, because there's a lot of talk about stigmatizing mental health nowadays. And I think we get kind of stuck on that word stigma instead of actually just opening up about what we're going through emotionally and just saying it the way it is. Because when I posted it, nobody said, hey, fuck you, you're weak. Hey, no one gives a shit. I was really reassured through the small things of humanity today. And so I don't know, that's not funny, but we all need a way to cope with that kind of stress during this quarantine, and I got one, you guys. On today's section, Ezra brought a nearly lethal bow and arrow to cope with his stress, and he's been shooting it at the mattress. It can pierce through this much flesh, and since I can't get a firearm because of my multiple arrests, but I can have this bow and arrow, I do. What have you guys been doing to bide the time and stay sane on today's How We Been Staying Sane on Stay in the Loop, your Snoop, brought to you by Western Mass Comedy Group. Jason, what have you been up to stay sane?
Ezra, that's a great question. I have been playing hours and hours of this game called Grounded. You play a teenager who has been shrunk down to the size of an ant, and you have to gather materials and craft tools and hunt insects, and It's fucking great. And kind of terrifying. Like when a spider comes after you and it's the size of a garage and it'll kill you with like one hit. That's terrifying. So yeah, I've been having a lot of fun sort of living out my own Honey, I Shrunk the Kids fantasies.
What do you kill the spider with?
So far, I haven't. But I did just find the materials I needed to craft a bomb. So I'm going to try to blow it up next time I have a chance.
Blowing up spiders.
Yep.
There used to be spiders that big too, back in the dinosaur era, which didn't exist. It's all made up by science. The dinosaur era never even happened. They're just planting skeletons all the world to get us not to focus on the present and instead see the past. But they did used to have spiders that big. They got rid of them though. People didn't like them, so they got rid of them.
They said enough with the spiders.
Yeah, we could just gun them down now, I guess. If we had a large spider problem, we could just solve it with guns, like, duh.
Would we have ever gotten to guns if we had that much of a spider problem? Maybe they would have just kept us in the Stone Age.
Wouldn't we have invented guns twice as fast to keep up with this spider infestation?
Well, I don't know. I mean, we would have had to invent agriculture first, and for agriculture to work, you have to be able to stay in one place for a long time. And if you have roving giant spiders, then you might be more want to migrate.
Pow! Get off my lawn, spider!
Yeah,
that's how you solve that.
What kind of castle do you build that keeps spiders out of it?
Depends on how big the spider is, really.
Yeah, but it can just like climb up the side of the castle and then drop down on the inside.
Maybe you could keep the wall heated, hot or something, so it would burn itself if it tried to come invade your village.
Yeah, now I'm like picturing how like giant spiders would siege a castle. Like they could definitely climb up and over the thing, but they could also like web up like all the doors and the windows so that they can't shoot like arrows or like, get food. They just like starve them out.
Which is the Harry Potter with all the giant spiders in it?
I don't know. I'm not a nerd.
One of the Harry Potters, there's like a
one of them
spiders. I find it very upsetting.
Hey, if you know which Harry Potter that was, you can give us a call at 143-406-0000. But
if you need me to describe other things that happen in that Harry Potter, I'll tell you. It's where the lady's like dressed in pink. She's like,
and the centaurs drag her off into the woods.
Yeah, that same woods. That's where the spiders are.
Yeah,
motherfucking giant spiders. I don't like it. That's what we're talking about. Giant spiders. I'm against. If we're having a vote, I vote nay on giant spiders. Is that not woke enough for you?
Sustained.
I say away with them as well, because they're used. Their one function is to get rid of smaller prey. But if they're huge spiders, then they are the thing we want to get rid of, because they can't catch anything at that point.
We're just gonna lay eggs in our brain, in our stomachs, and all they want us for is our eggs. Think about it. What does a spider want you for? Other than to lay eggs in your chest cavity or abdomen.
Typical.
Right in your thorax.
Spiders only want one thing.
It's always my fear of being alone that brings me back to that giant spider, even though she's so abusive and all she wants to do is plant eggs inside me. That's
her voice is so sweet.
It's J.R. Tolkien, right?
That's Lord of the Rings, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
It is. I read those books just to.
You're saying that's a quote from Lord of the Rings? The thing about the sexy giant spider? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, what's the quote?
What you just said about the sexy spider that's abusive.
Oh yeah.
That wants to stuff you with spider eggs.
Yeah, color me Frodo. Old Frodo talking about his large spider girlfriend. Oh my lord.
My girlfriend's a giant eagle.
Shit, man, that would be rough in bed. She'd be like, you say like bite me, and she'd like bite your whole face off and shit.
Mm-hmm. She just like picked me up and dropped me off in a nest and feed me to some children.
Just like that pelican. Isn't there that birth story where the pelican drops you off?
Stork.
Stork.
Although pelican would be able to catch in the pictures, a stork has to like hold the like blanket with the baby in it with its feet, whereas a pelican would be able to hold the baby in its giant beak. So that would be a much better idea.
I don't want to be held by any birds. You know what I mean? I always think of
last week.
Not into being held by birds no more. I know I go back and forth on the Huffington Post and whether I like to be held by birds or not. But when I think of that story with my brain is beat, the stork or the other bird, I always picture it being the Vlasic pickle mascot.
That's a stork.
That's a stork.
That's it. That is the same bird. Yeah.
I don't want anything to do with that Vlasic pickle guy. He's like I would keep him away from my children instead of have him deliver my children in that weird little bandana thing. If the Vlasic pickle started dropping babies off at my spot, I would start firing my bow and arrow right at his Vlasic face, you know? We lost Jason right between his pickled eyes. Well, this is
stupid pickle face.
You know what I mean, though. That Vlasic pickle. I don't even remember the line. I feel like it just goes like, "Vlasic, I'll see you in the sewers where the blood doth run green." What?
Yeah, that's right.
That's a good impression, right?
Yeah, no, that's
typical Vlasic.
Vlasic, when the salt is your blood. Whoa! I don't know.
Cherish the memories. You're in a cave now.
Yeah, exactly. You get it. I'm working these thoughts out. I've been spending way too much time alone, so this is how I've been keeping sane. This and lots of push-ups and sit-ups and seizures and or strokes have really been keeping me going. Ryan just edited the premiere of our sketch comedy video compilation, which is uploaded to the Western Mass Comedy Group page. It was written by, directed by, acted by variously Ezra Pryor, Jason Galligan, Ryan Arnold, Austin Rutledge, Molly Schultz are the featured actors. So you should check that out because I'm a good writer. He's a good actor. He's a good editor. Same thing all the way through. We're like Wu-Tang, you know. We come together at the head and have feet on the other side too.
That's right.
That's right.
Who would we be? Would you be the RZA then?
I guess so, yeah, since I'm kind of, not to brag, but organizing.
Jason, who would you be? Would you
Let's
be
not get into... I think Jason would be Jizza. No, we're talking Wu-Tang, though.
Yeah, I'm Jizza.
You're Jizza. Yeah. That's what I was thinking, yeah. Ryan, you're Inspector Deck.
I'll be Inspector Deck. I've seen Inspector Deck live. It's pretty good.
He's dope. I just got into Inspector Deck the last 2 years. Then he came out with a mixtape. It's like, when CDs come out and you're like, that's not possible. That's so awesome. MF Doom did a CD with Inspector Deck and one with Ghostface Killah. MF Doom is one of my favorites, and then especially Ghostface Killah is one of my favorites. And they have a whole CD you guys should check out because I almost want to get a Wu-Tang tattoo. I know you guys are down with the Wu. Can I get a Sue?
In 2013, I think my band played at Bellaterra where Ghostface was headlining, and so we got to chill out backstage, not with anybody, but during the set. And nice. He does live. He does Billie Jean by Michael Jackson, but Ghostface can't sing at all. So it's just five. It's just like five rappers all high up on the stage going like Billie Jean is
yeah.
I am the one.
Dude, I saw Ghostface too at Pearl Street, and it was nearly exactly the same thing. And I knew going in, even though Ghostface is so talented, it's an awkward case where he's so live in the studio that he can't replicate it on stage somehow. And he was just there. He took forever getting on stage. I would forgave him ahead of time, though. I know he's Ghostface, you know? Ghostface gonna do what Ghostface gonna do. But there was like 4 girls standing behind him. I was like, this is shameless. He had like pretty obviously like 4 coked up girls under
what
his
drugs
thumb.
they were on.
Well, they could have been on heroin.
They could have been on acid.
They could have just been on medical marijuana and there to enjoy the smooth vibes of Ghostface Killer. But then after like making us wait so long, and after 10 minutes, he literally said into the microphone, "We gotta go. The cops are here," and got off stage. So
you think the cops were in fact there, or that was
I don't.
Just
I think he was just like, I already got paid for this shit. I'm Ghostface. I'm gonna bounce out of here. This is whack. And I couldn't really argue with him. You know, what am I gonna do? Boo Ghostface? Charge backstage? You know? No,
not in your life.
not in my life. It was kind of. I also saw Method Man once. I was in New York City, and I swear to God, Method Man had a moment where we were like, real meets real. We did this shit. Like, you guys know this, like. That head nod, like, yeah, you know what's up. Yeah, I was in New York City at this apartment complex where like a lot of semi-wealthy artists like live in kind of like a compound. And Method Man was recording a music video. And we went outside to smoke a cigarette. And Method Man was just sitting on a couch. And he looked at me and I looked at him and we went, it was real. It was real. But you would be Inspector Deck. Yeah, you'd be Inspector Deck.
Can I be ODB instead, or Raekwon?
Yeah, you can be whatever you want, man. Don't you know about it? Don't you know that you can be whatever you want nowadays? We lost Jason. I like how we've just learned to roll with the punches and not even bring up when we lose a member. He'll be back.
I assume we're still recording, so
I hope so. I really hope so. Jason, have we been recording?
Hey guys. Yeah, I set up a second, or like it's a second for me, but it's like a 4th Discord member who is invisible, but it's on my desktop, so it's all recorded. If I disconnect, it continues going and continues recording. So
okay,
no worries.
You could have said that in a way quicker version, Jason. I just want to make sure we get this all. I want our voices to stick like syrup to the side of a tree when we do this, you know? That was rude. I'm sorry, Jason. That was really rude.
I just don't know how to respond to that. Like,
yeah, I know.
Need more snare in my headphones.
Yeah. Crank up the bass.
Can we get the contrast a little higher on this audio?
Yeah.
I want a CGI fireball to blow up in my hand now.
Can you put a graphic of just a dragon continuously blowing fire, like, up on my right shoulder? That'd be pretty boss.
I can do that for the next show.
All right.
I have After Effects, but every time I try to start learning how to use it, I get overwhelmed by how many different things there are.
Yeah,
I find it helps to have a reason to be using it, because then you can just figure out how to do the thing that you're trying to do.
Yeah, that's good advice.
That's true. You guys think everything looks better in sepia tone? Because I do.
No.
Not every. I remember in the 90s, I had a camcorder that had built-in black and white and sepia, and so for a while I put everything in sepia or black and white. But you realize it ruins your footage because you can just do that stuff after, and when you do it in the camera, it's like having captions in camera. You can never take that shit off. It's there forever. It's like a tattoo.
It almost becomes cheap sepia tone because you could overuse it and the color on it kind of applies some extra meaning that's not really worked for it. Or you could use it selectively like a gentleman. I like sparse usage.
Cowboy clothes.
Yeah, I like sparse usage of sepia tone. If I start to see you relying on that shit, I'm going to call it out and say, you better switch back to color before you even want to go back to black and white again. Know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now that you say this, can you just put sepia tone over the whole episode? Can it be the sepia tone?
I want to say black and white. We'll start doing podcast noirs.
Yeah. We each have to be smoking a pipe, or at least one of, not each of us, that'll be played out.
No way. We should all be smoking the same pipe.
The same pipe.
COVID noir.
Yeah. You guys sponsor. You know what's funny? There's a health insurance company called Covidian, and that is why this shit was planned by the government. You guys just look at the pen in the waiting room of the doctors. The insurance company's name is Covidian. They invented this disease and sent it over so that we could be handing our money over to Covidian. Copays out the ass. I'm calling you out, Covidian. And I don't care that Huffington Post's been saying all this kind of shit about Covidian for the people. We here know that Covidian be throwing sapiatone on everything, trying to fool us. You guys want to talk about the movie?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's get into... Oh, and also I was thinking, we didn't do it this time, but at the beginning of the episode is when we should say, this is depressing, what movie we're going to watch next. Because my feeling is that we're lucky if someone watches like the first half hour of it, you know?
I think it's your turn next, right? Do you have a movie in mind for us to watch?
Why don't you guys start talking about Vampire's Kiss and I'll come up with it, because I need a break from breath. I just had that stroke. I don't even know if it was a stroke. But yeah, let's talk about Vampire's Kiss, and let's talk about Nick. You want to start with talking about Nicolas Cage's performance? Let's start with that in Vampire's Kiss. What do you think made his performance good or bad?
The wildness in his eyes.
He's really going big. I mean, you could say that it's like a sort of theater acting on camera, which always looks sort of weird. Sometimes in older movies, you'll see like theater acting done on camera, and it seems like weirdly exaggerated. And so that's part of what this is, but it's not the whole thing. This is a movie that makes me laugh out loud if I'm by myself.
I know it's a comedy. It didn't make me laugh. It just made me think, like, which I like a lot of times, like just clever funny, like a form of funny is like clever. I was just like, this is well written, and I love Nicolas Cage. If you look at, he plays anger really well, which is what I like about him. If you look on YouTube, Nicolas Cage flips out. There's like 5,000 videos of compilations of Nicolas Cage losing his shit. Which, if you're a man with anger problems, kind of makes you feel a little better about your chances with women. Know what I'm saying? That was.
I do know what you're saying.
Do you know how awful a person I am now?
Yes.
Thank you. I wish we could. We had the technology to play the Rage Cage compilation. It's hilarious. I like the scene where he's running down the street, just yelling, "I'm a vampire! I'm a vampire! I'm a Like, he was stoked about it. He was like, "Ha ha, bitches! I'm a vampire!" He went in, like you were saying. He went in. He went hard on the vampire role. And what did you think? Did you think his transition to vampire was how do I say this? Too fast? Because in some movies there's like a slower build into the vampire thing. It was kind of just like he was sleeping with that girl, and then the bat flew on in, and he was just suddenly a vampire. And the thing about becoming a vampire is it does, you don't want to be a vampire while you're a human, but once you're a vampire, you're totally stoked about it. Huh?
Oh, there he is.
You're totally stoked about becoming... What I was saying is, as a human, you don't want to be a vampire. But if you become a vampire, the great part is you're super stoked about being a vampire.
Well, I got kicked off for like 30 seconds, but you mentioned that. So this is a movie where he's not actually a vampire. He's a book publisher who is going out and partying at night, and he has a sexual encounter with a girl in which a bat breaks in through the window, and he imagines that he has been bit by a vampire lady, and he succumbs to mental illness while imagining that he is turning into a vampire.
I thought it was, maybe I'm wrong, but I thought it was like a blend, like it wasn't just one or the other, like the two kind of commingled.
You mean that maybe he is a vampire?
Like maybe he is a vampire, because I don't think he was insane at the point where the bat flew into his room. This is my question. Was he insane then? Because then the bat would have been a hallucination too. In my opinion, the bat was like, the carrier of the insanity, which was, I think, the message the bat was trying to teach to Nicolas Cage was, stop fucking around and sleeping with girls all the time. Get your life together, Cage. What do you guys think? What do you think, Jason? Do you think he was actually a vampire, or do you think it was all metaphysical?
I think it was partially metaphysical, but partially metaphorical, because he's like this kind of stockbroker, sort of like Wall Street character in New York City, whose job is effectively to be a vampire when it comes to like the resources that are produced by this country. So like he's a vampire in terms of his place in society, and I think that the film kind of portrays the sort of subconscious sense of guilt that he has over profiting off of all this stuff that he's not really putting any value into, and that causes him to go insane. I think it's a brilliant portrayal of like madness.
Yeah, because I think the point about the madness is like, when it's well done, you're not supposed to just say like it's just madness.
Well, but
I like it when he goes insane. No, I know. I'm bad at this movie review shit. Apparently, I forgot, but I do remember he plays mental illness really well, and I liked it. They do that in a lot of movies where they show what he's hallucinating and then what he's actually doing. And that is what mental illness looks like, because he's basically at some point on the street corner, I forget what, like insanely yelling at someone who's not there.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it was a good exploration of, sexuality is tied into it, I believe, as well, because the bat strikes when he's having kind of just one of his casual sex encounters. So
well,
to
he
me, that
his therapist that the bat attack gave him a boner.
Well, why would? Of course, yeah.
and then it's the next week that he brings home that other girl who, So what I think happens is that there is a bat attack, and then the next week he does bring home another girl, and maybe even that girl bites him, but then afterwards he imagines that she comes back and is a vampire. I think maybe it's real when he sees her at the club and like tries to drag her away by her hair and gets kicked out by the bouncers. I think that might be
good.
It is unclear. It is ambiguous.
It's like it's like The Shining, in the same way that like you can't tell if it's a hallucination or if maybe
the mansion's haunted or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
But if it's a hallucination, how did he get out of the freezer?
Exactly. Yeah. I was just joking, I was half joking around when I said, I said you gotta stop fucking around, Nicolas Cage, but it is. I'm not saying the movie is sex shaming, but I think it is bringing awareness to the problem some people have of escapism because they can't be well balanced, so they're just fucking everything that moves.
Well, I think
Welcome to Tinder.
Like that 80s thing where he's doing his career really hard and he's a really abusive boss, and then he goes out every night and drinks and does coke and has promiscuous sex, and he's just living the American commercialism 1980s, like he said, Wall Street life. And I think that's a contributing factor, because he's this narcissist who abuses every single person he can because of his job and because of his level of wealth. And so you don't feel bad for him. I guess I'll say that. It's interesting to watch, but this is not, Nicolas Cage's character is not sympathetic even a little in this movie.
I think it is. I mean, once I see, because then it's a question of like, when do you blame someone's personality on mental illness or not, isn't it? That's like another conversation to be had about this movie, because
that's a deep conversation. I mean, I don't know if we should even go into it.
Oh, bummer, dude. Really?
Well, I think that like you have to hold people responsible to a certain like point in terms of their behavior, because mental health isn't about behavior, it's about what you're going through internally, and as soon as
That's
you
not true.
externalize that.
It manifests in behavior. The two
But
are
when he
Yeah,
flips
but
internal
when
out on
that
his
working.
whole
behavior
office and his
harms other
employee,
people, I mean,
Yeah, no, I know.
personally,
I don't think he's a great guy or anything, but I don't know. I feel like people nowadays are. I don't know why we wouldn't talk about it, other than to say I find someone immediately, and it's better for me emotionally to not hate or judge the person who's being a piece of shit, but put them out of mind and hope that they get better. Because I worked in mental health for fucking 3.5 years. I dealt with emotional blowups, and you couldn't tell me to tell them your behavior isn't, what it is. Like, it doesn't make sense to separate your internal mental health disorders from your behavior so absolutely, so as to say, um, I don't know. This is a good one
but he shouldn't
because
have
it's too
employees.
emotional or
This is not a
something.
character that should be the boss of anybody. I think that's the issue.
yeah.
Yeah.
After he flips out on his whole office and that boardroom full of people are all like, "That was so funny how you jumped up on the desk and started screaming." I mean, you could argue that those people are the problem. That they should have, called in some kind of team as soon as he started screaming at people and jumping up on the desk and
Oh yeah.
you
Yeah.
Yeah, they
know
No.
were kind of egging him on.
he shouldn't
But
be
like,
blamed for his mental illness, but he goddamn sure shouldn't be
Well,
allowed to, reign over other people.
no.
yes,
No,
exactly.
but he's a clearly mentally ill character. Like, there's no dispute that he
He
is
thinks he's a
suffering from
vampire.
like psychosis and schizophrenia. When you're crying on the street corner talking to imaginary characters, you get my sympathy because I've worked with those people before and it's not always pretty. And we're so focused on holding people accountable nowadays that I'm sorry, that's honestly, and you could see the moments where he was actually insane. It
Well,
made it
we
less
started by
metaphysical.
talking about narcissism, and having been on the receiving end of narcissistic abuse, like I'm perfectly happy like cutting ties with those people and letting it
Yeah,
be. When it comes to someone who's suffering from psychosis or schizophrenia, that's like a different level of mental health issue. And most people that are schizophrenic don't cause harm. Like they're typically nonviolent. There's all this like sort of stereotypical shit about mental health issues and violence being interconnected when violence is actually the thing that's like the standard normal way that society operates. Like violence is completely sane in the society we exist in. But when people with mental health issues, like specifically narcissism, but also like borderline personality disorder and shit like that, cause harm, I think that like yes, they, you need to be sympathetic to them, but you also don't owe them anything, and that the best thing that you can
yeah.
do is like back off and get
Well,
over it.
like that's not always the best thing to do, though, is what I'm saying. Not this guy. I'm not talking about this
Well,
this guy. I'm not talking about this character. I'm talking about in a
Mhm.
wider sense. I know that schizophrenia is not abusive, but schizophrenia mixed with psychosis, I think, is the mental illness he's going through, and that's very dangerous because he's clearly disassociative the whole time. So he's a piece of shit to begin with, but like you were saying during the meeting, like he needs help. Someone, like, I hate to say, institutionalize someone, but if someone is behaving that badly, I agree. It's accountability. So they should be put in a mental institution or jail and given the same treatment as people who aren't shitty. Because for
it's
me,
the fact that
that's
he's in a
productive.
position of
He's a piece of shit.
power
Yeah, he's a
is
piece
like
of shit.
the problem is that nobody wants to say anything because even though he's acting crazy, he's in this like position of power, and so everybody that sees his behavior for what it is afraid to act out,
Yeah.
afraid to say anything. So I hate to get political, but
No, let's go there.
high
Let's go there.
ranking
Let's go there. Yeah.
high-ranking businessmen who are mentally ill narcissists, may have people, uh, pass the
Protecting him.
buck in terms of confronting them.
Yeah.
Just like Nicolas Cage or, all the politics.
Yeah. I've been around people like that where it's almost it's easier to like that you need to tell the person something, but you also know that trying to deal with it won't like cause a resolution. It'll just cause a blow up.
Well, if they have power over you, or if they're in high standing to the point where if you were like, "Hey, what's going on with your mentally ill abuse and behavior?" they'd be like, "He's friends with the mayor and the police chief," or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He's got ties with the local politics that protect him. Yeah, no, there are. I'm not forgiving of that guy. I just don't think it's also not worth thinking about his mental health disorders in combination with his behavior. I really don't see how you could separate the two. But he is a piece of shit, and I don't like that kind of person is abusive. So
it seems like he was a piece of shit before he started having delusions too. So it's not like his delusions are what we're categorizing as bad about him. He seems like a bad guy who has lost control over his ability to tell the difference between reality and fantasy.
Yeah, I don't want to sound like I'm forgiving of this guy either. I'm totally not defending him. I'm just thinking because he should be thrown in jail. If we're thinking about like on ground level shit, he chased that girl down, and then afterwards he'd have the excuse of saying like, "Oh, I don't doing that." So when it gets to that point, it's a good question of when, and nobody likes forced. The question is forced institutionalization is a contentious one, and it's not one with an easy answer. But in my opinion, it involves discretion over the other person's individual freedom, unfortunately. And I've seen restraints happen, and when they've happened, I've always thought like, I don't know how the fuck else that could have gone other than to let them thrash around and kick over all the tables and all the stuff. And that's virtually the behavior Nicolas Cage is involved in is abusive. So throw him in jail and let him rot with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
I think this is one of Nicolas Cage's iconic performances.
I'd say so.
Yeah.
It just made me want to watch more Nicolas Cage movies, really.
It feels like the sort of like foundation of all of his various Cageisms. Like you can see like the DNA kind of like coming up out of this strange story where like I don't know, I haven't seen too many films before this one with Nick Cage in it, but I feel like this is where he starts getting unhinged, and the Nick Cage that we all know and love was born in a way.
The movie right before this that he made is that movie Moonstruck with Cher, where I know the movie won an Oscar. I think he might have won an award for it too, where he it's obviously not as out there from the plot, but his character has like a very similar acting style. He's got like a fake hand, and he's like, "They took my hand," and
I'd be upset too. They took my hand.
It seems like this is like a big risk after that. After winning an award, you think he would do like a more mainstream movie to ascend into Hollywood elite instead of making. At face value, this seems like a B horror movie. Like upon closer inspection, it's got all these like weird satirical and ironic layers as well. But on first inspection, it's a B horror movie, so it's a pretty risky choice for a younger actor who's just like played like his big part.
Yeah, that's
it's
an
brave.
Interesting perspective. Yeah,
that's when you call an actor brave for making himself vulnerable to that kind of role. I figured out what movie we should watch next, you guys, and it's another Nicolas Cage movie by Scorsese called Bringing Out the Dead. Have you seen it?
Cool.
Have you seen it?
All right.
I love that movie.
It is one of my favorite movies.
And it follows with every episode so far has involved like versions of insanity, whether it's hallucinations or abusive insanity, passive insanity. I think we're going to cover all the insanities. And Nicolas Cage in this one, though, he's a good guy. He's actually the voice of reason. He is, and he only gets depressed in this one. I think it's kind of a unique way that way. I couldn't imagine being him being an ambulance driver. I think you guys could handle being an ambulance driver during this COVID outbreak.
That movie made me think about being an ambulance driver when I was younger, and at the time I was working in a convenience store where I happened to say that to a guy who was an ambulance driver, and he was like, he gave me a talking to and said, "It's so fucked up. Don't do it. Don't even think about doing it. Certainly don't do it because you saw it in a movie." He really talked me out of it.
You know what? I learned recently that the ambulances, like that whole job used to be done by the police, and they were doing a piss poor job, especially in black neighborhoods. And so the first EMT unit was like black people from their own neighborhood, just like taking care of their own community members. And then it spread out and became bigger and bigger. And eventually the mayor like fucking trashed their neighborhood and took over the EMT like organization. But the EMT career was created by people of color in response to
that's so fucked up. So the problem's being caused to them, and then they're having to themselves as well.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a rough time right now. Black Lives Matter. Can I get a rock and roll for Black Lives Matter? For reals. For real.
Yeah, it's funny, like people that are used to being protected within their society, they can't even imagine what it must be like to have to look out for yourself and to enforce your own rules and create your own opportunities. Like everyone's so like quick to judge drug dealers and pimps and prostitutes and all this kind of shit, but like what are they supposed to do? What options do they have? Like
they don't have any this is a contentious viewpoint too, but it's true. Since they get mired in that cycle, it's really hard for them to have positive role models to like set that example, because there's like the trickle down version of Reaganomics, except losing shit. So that's just
shit rolls downhill.
It rolls downhill, and that's one thing I hear that makes sense is and then it's a question of who's gonna step up and be the positive role model. And the weird thing nowadays, unfortunately, this is so dark, but the positive role models are the ones being murdered because because that needed to be happened, unfortunately, to expose the corruption at stake. So I'm not saying they deserved it, but for me, they're like martyrs. Like, it's the first time in my life I've had martyrs, and they're, Floyd, Taylor, they're all, it makes me feel so much worse knowing that, people are having to die for us to learn this lesson. And Trump is fucking it all up. I was going to bring up this because the HuffPo thinks it's hot business. If you guys want to talk about mail-in voting and how Trump is talking about how he wants to exercise his executive order, I think, to stop mail-in voting.
I think it's a pathetic and desperate attempt to maintain power. It's crazy.
Yeah, he said it's going to take, one of his arguments against it was it's going to take 2 months to sort through the mail-in votes. But yeah, it does cause issues because people have been arrested and are then freed in a lot of parts of the country. They're not allowed to, right?
It's not if you're arrested, it's if you're convicted. Of a federal crime.
Yeah. So, yeah, they don't even get the chance for a mail-in vote. And I don't know, thanks to COVID, we're in this awkward situation where mail-in voting, it's like the protests again. It's like we have to pick one risk over the other. And right now, I wouldn't want to go vote in a voting booth. I'm still pretty cautious about this. But I do want to see Trump get out of office, so I will seal my impeachment letter with a fuck you stamp to Trump. My lord, we always end up talking about Trump. It's what's so annoying about his presidency is it's like, you know, I want it to be the like thing in Lord of the Rings where Sauron, he whose name we do not say. The guy's a fucking steamroller. But the elections are in November, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think about Biden, Jason? We lost Ryan. Ryan, come back.
We did lose Ryan.
We're talking about Biden.
Biden's trash, obviously. Biden sucks.
But Biden, his time is more like it.
That dude is like...
Wait, you can't say that.
Retiring.
You can't say that, though, because he's our only option left. I'm saying... Yeah. I'm just repeating what other people say. I don't really have a firm viewpoint about Biden. I just know... yeah, he's like if you dyed Donald Trump's hair gray and like threw him over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess like the way I feel about it right now is that like you know, I'm 8 and I'm at the mall with my mom and I see Super Mario Brothers 3 and I'm like, "Mom, that's the game I want for my birthday." And then my birthday comes around a couple days later, a couple weeks later, whatever, and it's a copy of Super Mario Brothers 2. Now, those are two very different games. And sure, they're both, you know, from the same franchise, but one is progressive and has a variety of landscapes to explore, and the other is literally just a reskinned version of some other game.
I'm just imagining both of them getting killed as Mario and Luigi by one of those walking chicken nuggets.
Yeah.
Like they're facing giving a speech and the chicken nugget just comes and like pushes them off. Oh man. Yeah, I guess they are similar. But I'll vote Biden. I'm riding with Biden and so is the Huffington Post. So whatever the Huffington Post says is what I feel. So yeah, it's depressing out there, though. And I must be nervous because this is the second time my voice has cracked during podcasts.
Well,
you got to go,
I would
right?
attribute it it to your, you know, recovery from your having a stroke or whatever it was. Yeah. But if Ryan's not coming back, maybe we should skip Snake Facts and
you want to close it out? I want to close it out too.
Okay.
Thank you guys. Right. Thank you guys. I think we're getting thank you guys for being patient with us on Western Mass Comedy Group. Stay in the loop, you Snoop. Next week we're going to be discussing Mean Streets. If you want to watch that, it's starring Robert De Niro and Harvey Keitel, and is my favorite Scorsese movie. So
wait, what?
Wait, what? Oh, wait, no. I said, yeah, sorry. I switched. Bringing Out the Dead, which is also a Scorsese movie, though. Featuring, once again, Nicolas Cage. And also in this one, what's his name? Jeff. The big old guy. No, the big old guy in Bringing Out the Dead. Forget about it. John Goodman. John Goodman.
John Goodman, okay.
And he plays an abusive guy, so we can keep the topic of... the cheerful topic of abuse, so relevant, worth talking about. Thank you guys for sticking with us through this podcast. Stay safe out there. Wear a face mask, and we love you. Peace out, you guys. We love you so much. That's why I'm so mean with you, because I trust you.
Wow.